Hey everybody, welcome back to the Flat Thunder channel. My name's Andy and we got a fun little project today. At least I hope it's going to be fun. Got a whole bunch of boxes in the trailer back here. See if you can guess what it is. If you haven't guessed it yet, this is definitely a slide with a whole bunch more boxes underneath. This is a Backyard Discovery brand playset, specifically the Skyfort 3 wooden swing set. Now it has the slide, which you were just playing with, but it also has a tube slide over here on the side, an upper deck playhouse, a crow's nest. That's awesome. I hope I can get in that, with a little telescope, and then of course your traditional swings. Gotta be honest with you, if you read the reviews for any packaged product like this or any wooden playset off of the internet, they're very bad. Not for quality, but for difficulty of assembly. We're gonna try to, it's about 8:30ish in the morning. We're gonna try to open this thing up and see how far we can get. Obviously I have a lot of pieces. Let's see if all those reviews are baloney or if they have some truth to them. Here we go, let's tear into these boxes. If you're thinking about hauling this, delivery is a major pain in the butt from what I understand, because it's difficult to move these and they'll just kick them out at the curb and you don't want to deal with that. I picked this up with this trailer on the back of the truck and really everything fit on here except for that box, which had to go in the bed, and this is an 8-foot long trailer for reference. Fits in there perfect. This trailer is a nice little unit and it's great for projects like this. Now we got all the boxes laid out here. Before you leave the store, it's important to make sure you have all the components if you went to pick it up. This particular kit has 5 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 rectangularly long boxes and 1 larger squarish box. That's for the tube slide, and then also obviously the plastic slide is separate. Step 1, with all these pieces, you want to make sure you get everything all nice and organized. So we got them laid out here. Looks pretty good. Let's see if we can maintain some of that as we get into the assembly process. I'm gonna start ripping open these boxes. Oh boy, that's a whole lot of bolts, fasteners, and little baggies. I'm gonna give you a 2 for a pro tip here. Pro tip 1, obviously, when you're unboxing all this stuff, have yourself a place to put all the packing material so it's not blowing all over the yard. And then more importantly, pro tip number 2, take all your fasteners, don't just dump them out of the bags, leave them in the bags. Stretch them out so you can easily identify them and put them on a raised surface. That way you're not bending over all the time. Some of the reviews that I read said that the fasteners weren't clearly identified or marked, and I'm looking at this, and this bag and almost every bag has some type of designation. If it isn't printed, it's a sticker. Like this, for instance, says nut barrel 5/16 by 7/8 black. I mean, it's basically a threaded insert, tubular nut per se. But keep all your fasteners in the bag. Don't just go dumping them all out, because this way they're kind of organized. And I believe, I didn't read through the instructions yet, but I believe, you know, each step may kind of have a group set of fasteners. We're gonna go check it out. I think we put the ladder together first, maybe. So here is step 1, and I believe this number here is probably the ID for the screw that you need to use. And then it identifies the part number for the pieces that you need. So we're going to assemble 1/2 of the ladder here. Pro tip, each box comes with its own packing list. The packing list has the part labels identified on what's in the box. So for the first step, we needed part number E77. And we knew it was in this box because it's pulled up on this list. Yes, this is it. E77. It was on the very bottom. Another important pro tip, as you're unloading each box, position the board such that you have the labels always on the same end facing up, and kind of keep it so this is box number 1, or this is particularly this box. Finally, we can start putting something together. Well, if we can find the other piece. Here's a perfect example of the first step. Tells you the screws right there, gives you a part number and the dimensions. Here's the bag of screws. Same part number here. That's up, and then just instructions. It also says 8x2 black, which 8x2 black. So this is the bag that we need for this step. All right, we got a ladder. Steps 1 and 2 complete. Hardest part of that was the ladder rails were at the very bottom of one box, and the ladder rungs were at the very bottom of another box. So we had to basically unload 2 boxes looking for the pieces. You may have noticed when I was installing the ladder rungs, I was putting on some exterior grade construction adhesive, just a very light skim coat. You don't want it oozing out everywhere. But I'm going to try to add in construction adhesive on any part that I think will always stay together. If I were trying to move this, I would not disassemble the ladder rungs. I would just remove the ladder from the structure. And I think we'll be safe with that mentality. Hopefully we'll never have to move it, but you never know. Here we go. Let's see what steps 3 and 4 have. Well, steps 3 anyways didn't disappoint. These 2 pieces were also on the bottom of another box, but I mean, you have to unload all of them anyways eventually, so let's get them on there. Right. Finally looks like we're getting somewhere. We got the main support structure, at least one half of it, all together. Now another pro tip. I just picked that up before checking the next instruction. The next instruction, or the next step, may require me to do more to that piece. Let's take a look. Okay, good. Next step is the other main leg assembly. So we're good to set that out of the way and go find all these other pieces. So something definitely is not right here. This is crooked because these boards have different dimensions if you flip them. So we gotta take this board off and flip it, I believe. Oh, I skipped a few steps. We're getting to the point where we need to get this closer to where it needs to be in its final position. Doesn't need to be exact, but it definitely isn't going there. So we're going to try to work this over here.
There you go, sir.
Thank you, sweetheart. That's closer to where it's actually going to be. It's not perfect right now. We got to see how the slide sticks out the front and how the swing extends that way. But yeah, way closer. Here we go. One thing that's easy to screw up and really easy to overlook: the boards on the left and right. This board this board and the other board that spans the front to back on the other side has pre-drilled screw holes for some floor reinforcement pieces. There's one board here and one board up there. Well, they're symmetrical, but you can put them on upside down. And the screws that are supposed to be in the top are in the bottom. The other side has the screws in the bottom, largely because that piece is already installed and it'd be way more difficult to take it off. So we just went ahead and drilled 2 more screw holes in the other side, and away we go. Now we're ready to get the deck on this thing. It's going to really start transforming. The deck is pre-assembled pieces, and it's hopefully going to go down fast. Here we go. Hey everyone, if you didn't notice, it's day number 2 of the Backyard Discovery Playset build. We got the main structure up. We have what looks to be a playhouse getting established. Now there's other things that we obviously need to do, but I'm going to take a brief moment and show you some of the things I excluded from the video footage. I can't video every single step of this process. That's not what this video is. It's just a quick overview. I'm going to show you some of the things that I had to do that were a little bit that deviated from the instructions and were a little bit different and challenging on the upper section of the build, starting with the deck and then some of the uprights on the top. Here we go. I'll take you off there and show you what I'm talking about. So this is the top decking. You saw me toss it up there, but you didn't necessarily see me install all the screws. Now I did have some alignment issues, probably because the mid support board I put in was shifted a little bit, likely from drilling the holes in the other end since we inverted the board. So I had to re-drill some holes, and they're just offset about 3/4 of an inch. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 holes over here, and then also on the other side. I don't think this was my fault. The slats over there, right around in this area, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slats where the holes were shifted too far this way, and I believe that's because the crossboard underneath had a little bit of a bow inward, and well, you could force that board out. It just wasn't convenient to do, so I just went ahead and re-drilled a few holes there. No big deal. You just have a couple extra holes. So here is the deck. In my assembly process, I started with this piece because it was unique. Got it all nice and square and worked my way across. It does have special one-piece end boards on this end and that end, and it has a hole for these brackets and blind nuts underneath. It's offset, so make sure you put it on the right way. These posts were real interesting. These posts here, since they're a square, can be rotated multiple directions, and ended up taking this post off 2 times. The first time it was flipped 180, and this hole for this tie bar isn't necessarily in the middle, so it made our cross piece here go up at an angle. So that's something to watch for. They actually have a dimension and instructions from there to there. I just didn't pay close enough attention. Fixed that by flipping at 180, but then we had to rotate, take it off and rotate it. That's because of the pilot holes for the cross pieces on this side. Something to keep an eye out on there. Another issue I had was attaching these bolts to the posts. It has an angle bracket on the inside, has an angle bracket on the inside, exact same as the one we just talked about. And this bolt is a shorter bolt. It's not your standard 3 3/4. I think it's like a 1/4 inch shorter, maybe 3 1/2 or 3 1/4. Not for sure, but it just goes to show you, make sure you keep in mind the bolt sizes. There was also a bolt up here and some of this top upright construction that was a special one-off bolt. It actually came in an individual bag. I believe it was a 4-inch long bolt, and right now I don't recall exactly where that went, but somewhere it's up here. Read your instructions better than I did. Just finished my first cup of coffee. We're gonna dig into this thing. Let's open up those instructions and see what's next. I did pile all the wood up so it didn't get dew all over it because it got down in the 60s last night. So hopefully everything's dry. The only bad part is now I gotta open it all up and individually organize all the pieces again. Oh yeah. I don't know if it mentioned it in the instructions, because to be honest, I didn't read this massive library of information. I just started with the first step and away we went. So I didn't read all those instructions, I just started with the first step. It may mention it in the beginning, but it does not mention it in any of the individual step-by-step parts. It's common knowledge if you're used to assembling anything. This is a speed square. Now it's a little bit easier to use than a standard square, but any square would work. It has a larger flange, and this is meant for 2x6-ish boards. So a larger flange allows you to hook it onto the beam and then bring it up to your board. I use this throughout the entire build as a quick reference, because if you're assembling it nice and square, then it is going to be a whole lot more accurate than if you have a crooked board, or if you have a board gone uphill or downhill. This will quickly tell you, hey, I have a problem. Use a square. I don't care if it mentions it in the instructions or not. Use a square. The A-frame for the swing set is going to extend out this way, and it's recommended to have 6 feet from the edge of the playground equipment on all the extremities of it. So we want to have 6 feet from the end of the A-frame to this building or structure over here, and then also 6 feet from the back of this unit to the future fence that's going to get built. So I want to maintain that 6 foot perimeter. That's just for safety, so when you're running and playing, you don't accidentally fall into something that's too close. So now I need to estimate where that A-frame is going to sit, and then move this entire structure slightly, I believe that way, and maybe this way a little bit as well. Might be starting to get a little bit heavy, I don't know. Ah, we can do it. All right, the little sub-components are starting to go together. We just installed this ladder rack. I didn't mention it anywhere in this video yet that the level and grade of your ground is very important. This whole area was graded, and we brought in lots of fill dirt prior to this video, several videos ago. If you want to check out that video, I'll drop a link down in the description. But the grade and levelness, I guess, of your ground is very important, because you don't want your playset to wiggle and wobble and move and be on level. That's not good. Here you can see we still have a little bit of unevenness because the ladder, one side dips a little bit of a hole. It's not perfectly sitting flat, so we're gonna have to address that after everything's put together and set in place. I believe we'll probably just bring in some sand and get some sand in those low spots. It's definitely gonna settle. This ground is like a heavy, largely clay mixture, so it's gonna settle, but it's gonna settle just a little bit. So we'll bring in the sand, get her all nice and level after everything's assembled, and then we'll check it again after a couple weeks. Here we go. The instruction has got us going back up on top, putting some more boards in. Pro tip, I did not mention this, and I did not do this previously. I mentioned organization. When I unboxed the stuff the second time around after cleaning up from previous day's work, I positioned the boards in order. So all these are the M boards, and I positioned them in numerical order, so they went from descending to ascending. Then over here, these boards are the, well, those are the H, these are the M, and then I have the N's over here in this area. So if you organize it such that they're all in a row, so the low numbers are down there, and they also correspond halfway with the numbers over here on the next letter, it's so much easier to find things. And if I would have known it would have been so difficult looking for pieces yesterday, I would have done this from the beginning. I just thought it would be easier to find. It was not. Every step required several minutes walking around looking for the correct board, because they're kind of mismatched, you know, N over here, H over there, yada yada. You get the picture. Spend the time to organize it. Put them in all the same letters in the same group. Put them in ascending order from the number standpoint. And then also, if you're really good, you'll have the other corresponding numbers for the other letter boards in the same position just next door. I thought that guy that just drove by was talking to me. Apparently not. He's looking for Juanita. I'm guessing that's a puppy or doggy. Hope he finds it. that's hard to get your noggin underneath there. And if you do what I did, you ram your little center point in your ball cap right into your head. That's gonna leave a mark. Don't do that. That hurts bad. So we got all the slatting and basically I guess the sheeting slats, if you want to call them that. We got some of the walls that we showed you. It's basically the same all the way around. The only thing that gets different is here on the front. Here in the front, you have the slats that are just spaced out with a gap. Pay close attention. The gap on the left side, if you're standing on it looking at the slide, is different than the gaps on this side. So pay close attention to that, otherwise you'll have to redo a couple. I'm going to take you off there and show you another common problem that I encountered when installing these slats. Well, welcome to my clubhouse. So here's the slats. Those are spaced at 3 1/4, and then the ones we just looked at are spaced differently. Looking inside the covered portion, this is a real common problem here. Zoom in. There's a knot right in the center of the hole, which that's pre-drilled. Don't try to put a screw in that. Just move over, drill a new hole, and then put your screw in. This is the front window. Also, when you're building in a space that's trapped like this, I start on the ends, if you notice, here, 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 and then work my way to the middle. Then the last two pieces, you'll have a gap that you have to compensate for, but if you do it right, you can gap it evenly. So here I ended up with what would be, I don't know, probably a 1/4 inch gap, maybe a little less than, and I split the difference. So I have a little bit of gap here, a little bit of gap here, and also I pre-installed all the boards with just a center screw to make sure the positioning was good before putting the tops and all the bottoms in. So I just sheeted the A-frame here and put the little sunburst triangle in, whatever you want to call it. Got both sides, and we're ready to start putting the roof on. I want you to start with the middle section first. That way you can make sure they line up right in the middle. So we're gonna go get the sheeting and have at it. It's a sea of tubes. We got the tube slide partially assembled here. A whole lot of screws and no real easy way to get around it. If you don't have a cordless drill driver or a cordless screw gun, I mean, what are you doing? Don't even try this if you don't have a cordless drill or know what a cordless drill or screwdriver is, because there's just a ton of screws around here. And without that, it would take a half a century to put these in. So there's 3 sets, halves, you just put them together, identical. Has some interlocking plastic pieces that help you align and guide the pieces. Here comes the shop foreman. Hi! Shop foreman wants to know why the tube slide isn't together yet. So we better get the tube slide, we better get on it and get this thing put together. It's probably gonna be pretty boring. A whole lot of me turning this, trying to figure out which way they go. I believe you create the curve just by rotating them along the way, but we'll find out. tube slide is up. I questioned everything about the tube slide. I didn't think it was going to go together. I was at the last piece, the exit piece, and I was trying to install it, and it just didn't make sense. You probably saw me, or if I included it, I held the whole structure up to the side of the Playhouse, trying to see if it made sense, and it still did not make sense. You just have to follow the guidelines listed in the instructions and make sure you line the L and the arrow. Work your way all the way down. Follow those pictures out. Make sure you look at them very clearly, and it magically works in the end. Basically, you fully assemble it per the slide instructions, stuff it in the hole, zip some screws in it, and you're ready to go sliding. Whee! Careful! There she is, the Backyard Discovery Skyfort 3. You have the crow's nest up top with the telescope, your straight slide, rock wall, and your tube slide. We still have to mount or hang the swings over here, but we want to make sure it's level first. We need to bring in a little bit of sand and do just a little bit of adjusting, and then we'll be good to go to hang the swings and put in the anchors. Careful. You coming again, baby? Whoa! And it actually works. It held my 200-pound butt, and that is one fun tube slide that the kids are going to enjoy. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Leave your questions and comments in that section below, and don't forget to punch that subscribe button on your way out. Thanks for watching, everyone.